Louisa.
Yes, people, hello and welcome back to Better You in 2. I'm your host, Isaac Frimpong. Hope you're having a good week, hoping a good start to the year. I know it's been more than a minute, not been around for some time, but we're back. Hopefully we're back here to stay. So, it's going to be a bit different this time. We're just going to be looking at books in real time. So the intention is, as I'm reading books, I'm going to be speaking about it, anything that I find profound, anything that I find interesting, a topic or something that I found in the book that is interesting. I'll just speak on it in real time as I'm going through the book. So the book I'm going to be talking about today, or the concept I'm going to be talking about today, is taken from the book The First 20 Hours by Josh Kaufman. I came across this book from a motivational video that I saw on YouTube. It came up on my feed, on my timeline. I watched the video and it mentioned this book about how to learn skills quickly in just 20 hours, and this intrigued me, and finally I'm now reading the book. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend about this channel if you find the content on this channel interesting enough and all that good stuff. But yes, so the first thing I want to talk about that I found from this book was a quote, and the author said this quote, and he says, "It's all about learning the fundamentals of the skills as quickly as possible so that you can get past the frustration barrier." Now he mentions the 10,000 hour rule, which was initially made popular by Malcolm Gladwell, who written the book Outliers, which is also a very good book, a book that I have read. I probably need to do a review on that at some point in time. But what the 10,000 hour rule speaks about, or the concept of it, is if you practice any skill for 10,000 hours, you could or you should be an expert. And 10,000 hours is an equivalent of, say, 40 hours a week, which is basically your full-time job, 5 times a day for 5 years. The only issue with that is that on average, we are only able to do about 3.5 hours of focused learning a day, according to Josh Kaufman in this book, the first 20 hours. And how about maybe you not wanting to be an expert in a particular subject matter or a new skill that you want to learn? And I think this 10,000 rule, like what he mentioned in the book, this could be off-putting because it is a mammoth task when you think about it. How do you find an extra 10,000 hours and remain committed and faithful enough to it to be able to stick it out and pass through that 10,000 hour mark? But this concept in this book, he mentions about maybe you not wanting to be an expert, because remember, 10,000 hours is for you to be an expert. Maybe for you not wanting to be an expert, but rather you to just be competent in a new skill, which overall will improve you as an individual. And I remember in 2018, the first time I discovered audiobooks. This was because I went on a holiday. I had 2.5 weeks off work, and a friend recommended me a book, which was the first book that I read in that year, 2018, which was Point Man. A very fantastic book. It's a book about how a man should lead his family from a Christian perspective. And so, obviously I'm on holiday, a bit more time, every day reading a bit of the book. I remember getting probably about 2/3 of the book done, only really needing to finish the book with another couple of chapters. So I thought, okay, I didn't get to finish it whilst I was on holiday. So when I got back, I thought, I'll just finish the book within a week. And then obviously back to the routine and, just not being able to finish the book because of work, life balance, all the rest of it. So I don't know where it came from, but someone recommended me or someone mentioned about audiobooks. So I found this book, Point Man, on audio, and I was able to finish the remaining chapters within a day or two because I drive for work a lot. I was able to finish the book, or listen to the book rather, whilst driving. And since then, 2018, I've been dedicated to learning and improving as an individual. But I found my approach beforehand was frustrating because the problem was I was trying to learn too many things simultaneously or trying to do too many things at one particular time. And the method I was using before was frustrating because I was trying to do too many things at once. And what I was doing was maybe just learning something for 15 minutes here, another thing 15 minutes there, and that wasn't enough time. So what this has encouraged me to do so far, listening to this book, I'm only about half of the way through, is that maybe take things one thing at a time, learn one skill one at a time. And 20 hours is a attainable goal. If you dedicate 20 hours to intentional learning on that particular subject, according to this book, you can get yourself to a competent level in that particular skill. So I'm just going to put up on the screen, if I can get it up, what the author determines, or the method, practically how you can learn these skills. So number one is deconstruct the skill. So he talks about learning the fundamentals of determining what exactly it is that you need to learn in order for you to gain enough for that skill. That's number one, deconstruct the skill. The second one is learn enough to self-correct. So again, you need to be able to put yourself in a position to learn enough so you know exactly when you're making mistakes in a particular area, and so that you can improve by yourself. And then number three was remove practice barriers. So this is coming down to creating an environment that will enable you to learn effectively without distractions You know how life can become very, very distractive. Practice barriers. It can be very distracting, and it's important to create an environment that your learning can thrive. Number 4 was practice 20 hours. Once you've determined what the skill requires, so this means focusing on what is really necessary for you to learn the skill. So I don't know, off the top of my head, maybe you want to learn how to drive, for example. I remember one of my cousins telling me, years ago that, he's learned how to drive a car by reading it in the book. But it's very important for you to practice how to drive, because driving is a practical thing. And again, according to this book, practice at least 20 hours in context. So there's no point you practicing how to drive on a computer game. You need to drive an actual car in context. And maybe the fundamental of that skill may be things like learning how to, get the biting point on the clutch, or learning how to use mirrors, etc. What is the fundamental things for you to be able to learn that skill? So the approach that I'm going to be using is from this book, the encouragement from this book is to learn one skill at a time. I'm going to try and dedicate 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, and 5 times 4 is 20. So within a month, I should be able to get my 20 hours of practice on a particular skill, and that will enable me to learn a new skill every single month, which I'm going to start in April. So from April, I'm going to try and learn one different skill each month. And maybe you ask yourself the question, what do you think about this method? Are you somebody who is always wanting to learn new skills? It might be to learn an instrument, or to play a sport, or to learn martial arts, self-defense. What is it that you have always wanted to do, but you've always used the excuse of, I don't have enough time, or I don't have the resources? Maybe because you've heard of that 10,000 hour rule before, and that's kind of put you off. How about trying this 20-hour rule and see how far you get? So without further ado, thank you for listening, and I hope that you've taken something from it, some form of encouragement, and take care and be blessed. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Take care.